Hello, this is Procyon, and today I would like to show you how to solve my module, the cRule. The cRule is the sequel to the rule, and you might even want to call it the cRule rule if you're not in the mood to make the pun. The cRule is very similar to the rule and uses the same principle of the colors of children of cells being based off of the colors of the parents of that cell, but it's a little bit of a twist, and let's take a look at the module and see what I mean. So the first thing you're going to notice is that we have a reset button, and when the lights come on, you're going to see why. That reason is that we don't have black and white anymore. Instead, we have this color palette. We have the primary colors, red, green, and blue, with the secondary colors, cyan, black, magenta, and yellow, with black and white being added on the left. The grid itself is filled with red, green, yellow, magenta, white, and black, and can also have blue or cyan appear. And it's not the top row that's completely filled anymore, it's a bunch of just cells in the grid that are filled in. That's new. And gone is the rule number. That's the most important change is the rule number is now gone. Instead, it has been replaced with these sets of card suits. We have club, club, spade, club, and diamond, diamond. So we have to take a look at the manual to figure out what that means. Let's go through the manual. We have a description of cellular automata. And the important thing here, coloring is additive. When I said secondary colors are yellow, cyan, and magenta, that means yellow is red plus green, cyan is green plus blue, and magenta is blue plus red. You're able to use this color palette over here to interact with the grid and change any cell you want that isn't initially pre-filled in into whatever color you want. And you can press the reset button if you don't think that the all-white solution is correct. So, let's find some rule numbers, because that's really what we're here to do. We have this chart here that tells us what sets of symbols represent what rules numbers, or at least the first step in finding the rule number. For example, club, club in the module would represent 5 according to the chart. But our primary colors are red, green, and blue. Yellow's not on that list. Well, in fact, yellow is a mixture of red and green, and what you're supposed to do is if a set of 2 symbols appears on a secondary color, then those symbols would represent the rule number for the primary color not included in the secondary color. So red and green are in yellow, so club, club corresponds with blue. And we can take our little set of notes here and say that blue is 0, 5. Magenta is red plus blue, which means magenta represents green, diamond, diamond, which is 10. Lastly, spade club is on red, so nothing to worry about with secondary colors there. Spade club is 0, 1. The last thing that we need for finding rule numbers is we have to add the sum of the digits in the serial number and take it modulo 16. So let's find our serial number. There it is. 9 plus 0 is 9. So we will move over here and we add 9 to get 10, add 9 to get 19, and add 9 to get 14. Modulo 16, that becomes 3. And these are our rule numbers. Using a technique from the original rule, I'd like to point out that 10 in binary is 1010, 3 is 0011, and 14 is 1110. And we can write out what these binary numbers mean. Recall that the first bit of the binary number represents the value of the child whose parents are both 1. The second character is the value of the child whose parents are 1 and 0 in that order. Then the third character is the child of parents There's 0 and 1 in that order, and then the last bit is the child of parents who are both 0. So we can write out in parentheses here the valid combinations of parents that produce 1s. Note that, for example, 0, 1 represents a 1, so we put it in the list. It may help you to figure out what that binary operator is. And so 1, 1, 0, 1, it's not really a standard binary operator, but generally if you have A op B, where op is some operator, 1, 1, and 0, 1 being true with 1, 0, and 0, 0 being false, is just B, because it's only dependent on what the second character is. If the second character in this binary number is 0, representing B being 0, then that's the value of the expression. So this is just the binary operator B. Similarly, this is the binary operator not A, because the only valid combinations are when A is 0. We come back to familiar territory with the blue rule number. 1, 1, 1, 0, and 0, 1 is, of course, OR. That helps some people figuring out what the binary operator actually is. So now let's take a look back at the module and set up some initial sets, some initial grids. So I have here dotted representations of the module, and for each 3 colors, and then I have a final one. So what I'm going to do is basically treat this module as 3 superimposed rules, one for red, one for green, and one for blue. Solve each of those rules individually, and then add them up to get to the final solution. So let's fill in what we have initially. In the first row, we have red valid in 2, 3, and 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the second row, red is valid in 1, 2, 5, and 7. Switching between windows, so gotta do these kind of one row at a time. In the third row, red is valid in 1, but not in 2 or 3. The not valid, I'm just going to represent with X. Green is valid in 2 and 6. And not in 3. It's not valid anywhere in the second row. And it's valid in 1 and 2 in the third row. Blue is not valid anywhere until 1 in both the second and third row. So go blue, and go X, 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 and X. So this is the initial setup of the module. Now let's actually just write down what the valid combinations are for these rules, or for these individual colors, and let's solve them one at a time. So, let's go. We actually come to our first ambiguity. There is not necessarily a unique solution for every instance of the rule. You don't have to worry about this if you come to a provably ambiguous point, such as the top left of the red section here. You can just put whatever you want. There's no single solution that is the correct solution. The module accepts any correct solution. So we can just say, for the sake of completing that nice little triangle, that the top left is red. Is there anything else of note here? Well, since we know that this is the B rule, anything means the right side bit. If the right side bit is 1, then the child is 1. So we know that this child doesn't really matter what this parent is, but the right side parent here is 1. So we know that this is also 1. Same logic down here, except we have 0, 1 produces 1. We know 0, 0 produces 0. Lowercase. We know that 1, 0 produces 0. We know that 1 something produces X, but we know 1, 1 produces 1. So 1 something must produce 0, that something must be 0. Same logic up here, 1 something produces 0. And let's figure out what this bit is. Well, this bit is dependent on this bit, and we know that x something produces x. 0 something produces x, so that something must be x. Same logic up here. And you'll notice that this is the motif of rule number 10, is that you get these stripes. You may recognize that from the original rule. And because this is actually a spot of ambiguity, all you need is this one to be red, and you can set this top cell to whatever state of red that you want, and as long as these 3 that in the rest of the stripe are the same, then it's a valid solution. So two ambiguities there, 4 possible red solutions. And you can see there's the characteristic stripes going diagonally down and to the left, and that's rule number 10, and that's red solved. Now let's go on to green. First thing you want to do here is figure out what's already filled in. We know 1, 1 produces 0. We know 1, 0 produces 0. We know there's nothing else that has both parents immediately filled in, so let's start logicking. We know that something 1 produces 0. We know 0, 1 produces 1. So this something up here must also be a 1. We know 0 something produces green. That's all. We already know that. But we know that something something produces a 0. Well, if the A of this parent, if the A parent was a 0, then this would be a 1. So we know that the A parent is actually a 1. Don't really know anything about the B parent, but that's an important logical step to make. And also we could have just figured that out from this cell up here, but it's important to demonstrate the logic. In fact, let's just fill in all of the A parents that are 0. So we know that's a G, that's a G, and that's all the A parents that are 0s. Yes, that's all the A parents that are 0s. All right, what logical deduction can we make next, if any? Something. All right, so this x here implies that this is not a 0, it's a 1. And we get an ambiguity in this cell here. 1, 0, and 1, 1 both produce 0. Let's just make it green. 0, 0 produces 0. And we could make that a G based off of its A parent. 1, 1 produces 0. And x, this must be green, because if it was 0, then this would turn into green, which would be a contradiction. And I believe it's an x. Okay. I believe that this is ambiguous. Let me just confirm that. This is a tricky rule number to work with. See 0. Let's just case work this out. That would be an x. That would be a green. That would be an x. Is that valid? Yes, that is valid. And let's just confirm the other solution to make sure I didn't miss anything. But I just checked if it was green. This is x, it's green, that's x, and that's green. Okay, so both solutions are valid. So, notice a little bit of a characteristic shape of rule number 3. And with that, we are able to move on to blue, because I believe that that green solution is correct. Yes, let's move on to blue. First thing we see with blue is let's fill in the cells whose parents are both known. 1, 0 produces blue, and in fact this is just OR, so if either, oh well, that's completely useless to us. Yeah, honestly, for this OR, we can just make this entire grid X. In fact, that might be the actual solution, because with these X's, like for this X here, we know that it's a 0, so both of its parents need to be 0s. Same thing with these two. Oops. These two produce a 0, these two produce a 0. We know these two parents must both be 0. And we can just fill in the entire grid is uniquely with zeros, and that is all the blue that we're going to find. So the last thing we need to do is we need to add these colors together. Red plus green plus blue is white. Red plus green plus X is yellow. Red XX is red. XXX is black because we're playing KTaNE. XGX is green. Red, green, X is yellow. XGX is green. RGX is yellow. Next row. RXB is magenta. Next one, RXX is red. XGX is green. XGX is green. RXX is red. XXX is black. Red XX is red. Next row. RGB is white. XGX is green. XXX is black. RXX is red. XGX is green. RGX is yellow. XXB is blue, some blue showing up in the final solution finally. XXX is black. RGX is yellow. And then XGX is green. And finally, RXX is red. So now let's fill in the solution. So white, yellow, red, black. White, yellow, red, black. Green, yellow, green, yellow. And then magenta, red, green, green, red, black, red. So green, green, red, black, red. Then black, red, green, yellow. Red, green, yellow. Then blue, black, yellow, green, red. Blue, black, yellow, green, red. Once you're satisfied with your solution, you can click Submit. It'll scroll through purple, and it will solve. Do take a note that if you get the rule wrong, and I'll just give a quick demonstration of that, the rule numbers stay the same, the initial position stays the same, everything stays the same, you just lose what you've already inputted. I just want to give a quick demonstration of that. So, like I said, it's going to scroll purple. It's going to strike, oh my goodness, the empty solution is incorrect. Even if you put stuff in, like this, by the way, can't change the color of these, and if you click on it, trying to change the color, the model's going to kind of shake its head and say, no, you can't do that. And so like that, if we have that solution, click Submit. It's just going to reset your inputs, module stays the same. With the end of this tutorial, I would like to say thank you very much for watching. My name is Procyon, and as always,